Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant with a designer series card showcasing the incoming mail stamp set and coordinating dies. I have paired the cute images with some dies from the So Fancy die collection from Mama Elephant and some greetings from the Surprise Sentiments. I'm going to start by taking my watercolor cardstock I'm going to be using and laying out my dies. I'm going to be using this medium-sized circle die from the die collection once, and then the smaller one a couple times. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut both of these with my Big Shot die cutting machine. And then once I have these two circles die cut, I'm going to make sure that I still have room for my greeting from the Surprise Sentiments stamp set, and position my last little circle here. So there'll be a trio of die cut circles, and I will die cut that off of the top of the card. I'm using watercolor cardstock so that I can apply some distress inks really easily. I just really love the way distress inks blend on watercolor cardstock. You could use any kind of cardstock that you want, however. I'm going to go ahead and replace all three of my circles as well, and I'm using a little Post-it tape just to hold it down while I'm coloring. I'm going to have to move it a little as I am coloring. I'm going to start with some shaded lilac near the bottom of my scene. The reason I kept those circles in place is because I want to add color to those as well. Everything is going to be really light and pastel. I definitely do not want any of the darker, more vibrant colors. I want really soft pastel colors for this particular card. Next, I'm going to blend in a little Spun Sugar distress ink into that shaded lilac. Those circles do pose a little bit of a trick getting them to stay put. I probably could have added the distress ink to this panel before die cutting the little circles, but I didn't think about it, so just going to have to make do. I am using a scrap piece of watercolor cardstock to keep my fingers out of the distress ink as I'm applying the color. I'm going to add a little squeezed lemonade distress ink here all the way across. Make sure blend in to my Spun Sugar distress ink. I'm going to leave just a tiny little bit at the top of this panel, and I'll blend in a little additional shaded lilac distress ink to kind of round out my three colors. And I didn't want the yellow section to be quite that big, so I did go ahead and add a little of that shaded lilac. I did not even re-ink my ink blending tool with the ink. I just used what was left on there, so it's really light. Once I have all of my colors applied, I'm going to take the Distress Sprayer and spritz the entire thing with water from the Distress Sprayer. Let it sit for about 25 or 30 seconds and then blot it dry with a paper towel. And it's going to leave a really great distressed background. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my greeting stamps from the Surprise Sentiments stamp collection. One of the reasons I chose to use the greetings from the Surprise Sentiments is that the smaller greetings are in the same font as the font from the Happy Mail stamp set, which was released in May with the Incoming Mail stamp set. And the Incoming Mail and Happy Mail coordinate really well together. But I found that the greetings from the Surprise Sentiments worked really nicely with the Happy Mail and Incoming Mail as well. And I liked that greeting, the hugs and kisses because I love you, I thought worked really well with these cute little pandas with the box full of hearts and then the envelopes with the heart accents. I stamped both of those with some black ink. I did use the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink for nice crisp stamped black images. That is also what I am using for my pandas. I had not stamped this particular image before, and so the solid black I didn't think stamped quite that great, so I did end up stamping it a few times. I probably could have just gone over those images with my black glaze pen because that is what I end up doing when I'm all finished stamping and die cutting these images. But I didn't. I stamped it a few times just to make sure I got a really crisp stamped image. Plus I stamped that smaller panda a couple times because I'm going to need two of those. I'm going to begin coloring in my images with Copic markers. The colors I'm using are shown across the bottom of the screen. I did use some E000 and E00 for the light part on the panda, as opposed to maybe doing some really light gray colors to accentuate the white area of the panda. I think I got it a little too dark for the larger panda, so I will fix that with the colorless blender here in a little bit. But for the hearts in the box, I am going with really light pastels that match the same colors of Distress ink that I used for my background. So really light shades of pink, violet, and yellow. Just a couple colors or a couple shades per color, and then 2 of each. So 2 lilac hearts, 2 pink hearts, and 2 yellow hearts in this little box. Then I'm going to use a couple shades of brown, very light brown, to color in my cardboard box, the E30 and E31. Again, I purposely kept those colors kind of more on the light side to match the more pastel feeling of the card. And then I did take the colorless blender and kind of color out some of the color that I added to the face of the panda to blend it just a little bit more. It kind of picked it up and made it not quite so harsh, I guess. I'm going over the hearts with the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to give them a little glitz and glimmer. I'm going to go ahead and color in my other 2 pandas. This time I used my E000 just around the edge of the panda face, blended that out with a little colorless blender, which is going to make those harsh lines not so harsh, not really pick up any color or anything, but just kind of make sure that any of those lines where I traced around the face aren't harsh. A little R00 for the cheeks, and then I'm coloring in the envelopes with warm gray 00 and 1, and then the little heart seals with R00 and R20 for one of them, and then the BV0000 and BV00 for the other one. I'm going to use the coordinating dies from the incoming mail stamp set and coordinating dies to die cut my images. So I die cut 2 of those with 1 pass of the machine. I'll use my small panda image again, run that back through to get my last little panda bear. Go ahead and pop all of these out. And then I'm going to position them and make sure that I like how everything looks before I get to putting the entire card together. So I always like to do one last little check. I'm going to have my 2 small pandas look like they're kind of peeking through these little circles with their heart envelopes, little circle windows, and then the panda sitting in the box full of hearts is going to be popped out of this larger circle at the bottom. And that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and cover the back of my panel now with foam tape. I want it to be slightly raised up, but I don't want it to accidentally press down as it goes through the mail. So I am being really generous with my foam tape and adding quite a lot of it to the back of my panel so that it's going to be nice and raised throughout this entire panel, and that the circle parts are going to be inlaid and lay flat against the card. I'm going to pull off all the backing paper from my Distress inked panel. Go ahead and attach that to a white Simon Says stamp card base. This is a top fold card base. Add some adhesive in the circle areas, and then go ahead and replace my circles and attach my cute little images. So I'm doing kind of these one at a time. I'm going to have to trim up my panda a little bit. There we go. Go ahead and replace the one along the top. Again, trim off a little of his feet. Tuck him in the window there. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my black glazed pen and go over the eyes and any of the black areas of the panda bears. I just love the way this looks. I could definitely leave them just as they are, but I have found that I like the contrast. I think it really makes the pandas pop. So I go over all of the areas with my black glaze pen. You can definitely tell the difference there between the first panda I did and then the one panda from the box full of hearts. It just makes such a huge difference. Now I do kind of try to keep the pen from coloring in the white area of the eye. However, if you accidentally do that, your white pen will absolutely fix that. I end up almost always trying to go over it and add that little white dot once the black pen has dried completely anyway, just to make sure I get a really nice crisp eye. Go ahead and finish coloring in the eyes all the way, and the noses. I guess I forgot to mention that. Once these are completely dry, the black is completely dry, I'm going to take my white pen and just add those little dots back in. And it's going to just ensure that the eyes are really nicely done and are the focal point. I'll add some Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to the 2 hearts on the envelopes. I forgot to do those before I die cut those images. And then I'm going to finish my card with a scattering of Pretty Pink Posh iridescent heart confetti and sparkling clear sequins. I am using the Ranger Multi Matte Medium to attach these to my card, and I'm picking them up with the clear end of the Quick Stick tool instead of the sticky end. I find that the sticky end tends to be maybe a little too sticky at times, and so a lot of times I can just pick them up. They'll just kind of attach to the Quick Stick tool, and it's easy to lift them up and place them where they need to go with that clear end, even though there's no sticky part at all to that. I'm using some bling glue dots to attach my sequins. Just a lot less mess that way. I try to avoid liquid adhesive if at all possible. The confetti is way too small for any other kind of adhesive. And the Ranger Multi-Matte Medium is my favorite for attaching that because it dries matte and you won't ever see it. And then I'm going to finish with some little gems in the center of my sequins. Thanks for joining me for this designer series project featuring the Mama Elephant incoming mail stamps and dies. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more Mama Elephant videos you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.